I've been doing the job for a year and a half now. I have over 20 years of experience in leadership, compliance, operations, strategic planning, and we've been making a lot of progress on our goals of adding additional air service, maximizing the industrial park, and making sure that our overall airport infrastructure is supported. I just ask that people go to the polls on May 6th and vote for me.
Educate, inform, inspire. The Dan Parsons Show, a podcast that lifts up instead of tearing down.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to today's Dan Parsons Show. I'm your host, Dan Parsons. Coming up on today's show, Vanessa Emlich, who is running for re-election to the Lincoln Airport Authority. But before I introduce Vanessa, a reminder that you can view all of our interviews with candidates for Lincoln and Omaha city elections this spring on our YouTube page. Be an informed voter. Okay, here's my interview with Vanessa Emlich. Enjoy.
The people decide. The voices impacting Lincoln. This is Election Coverage 2025 on The Dan Parsons Show.
Well, it is my pleasure to introduce Vanessa Emlich, a candidate for the Lincoln Airport Authority. Vanessa, welcome to the Dan Parsons Show.
Thank you, Dan. Glad to be here.
Yeah, your inaugural visit to the Dan Parsons Show. It's about darn time.
Very exciting, yes.
Yeah. Well, I've known you and your husband for some time. Randy and I used to do projects together, and so as people know, this podcast is about presenting the facts, truth over tribalism, and lifting up instead of tearing down, because you can find that stuff a lot of different places, even right here in Lincoln. So I just appreciate the work that you've done on the Airport Authority. So just a little bit more of an introduction. You were appointed to the board back in 2023 by Mayor Leirion Gaylor Baird to fill the seat vacated by friend of Dan, Nick Kuzik. Nick's a fan of the show. And so now you're running for a full term on the board in next week's May 6th general election. So
very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell people, Vanessa, as we get into this, these city elections, they're both a curse and a blessing in the sense they go so dang fast. I mean, you've only got a month between the primary and the general. Of course, you didn't have to worry. There was only two candidates for this seat. So you both advanced to the general election. But I guess the good news is it goes pretty fast. The bad news is it goes pretty fast because you don't have a lot of time to spend on campaigning. But how's it been going so far?
Oh, it's been growing pretty good. I mean, you're right. It seems like it's been a whirlwind, and all of a sudden we have a week left. So I don't know where the time has gone, but it's been great. I mean, just getting to know the other candidates and talking to people door to door. That's probably my favorite part, is actually getting to talk to people about the airport face to face. So yeah, I think it's been good, but I am looking forward to next week. So that's for sure.
Get this thing done. Yeah.
Yep.
Move on. Okay. Well, our producers have come up with a set of 4 questions that have been asking all of my guests, whether they're running for political office or not, in order to get to know you a little bit better. We call it Dan's 4 and You're 1. So I'll ask you 4 questions, and then you get to fire one back at me. Could be one of these or something completely off the wall. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Question number 1. Where did you grow up?
I grew up primarily in Colorado Springs for my formative years, age 6 to 15. But then we moved to California, San Jose, California. And so I usually say I'm from Colorado and California because I graduated from high school in California, went to college, lived there for a number of years, and then made my way to Nebraska via England and Germany and settled here about 20 years ago in Nebraska when my sister and her family moved here.
Very nice. Very nice. I don't think I knew all of those details. So very cool. Question number 2. as you were growing up in those two different states around the country, what was your dream job as a kid?
I had a few dream jobs, but I think the primary one was to be an astronomer. I loved space, very into studying the stars, and really was interested in that. When I realized how much math was involved when I was in middle school, I sort of went a different direction, but I actually kind of wish I went back to it because I found out I love math too. So
Yeah, now you could nail it.
now
Yeah.
I could do it. Yeah, but a
Oh,
little late now.
well,
But
as the PR guy, math and science was never my gig, English and writing and all that. So when I was in college, I took an elective course. I think I was a freshman of astronomy because I was fascinated. I love science fiction and
yeah.
all of that. And so I took a class. Holy shit, was it tough?
Right. It is yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
don't think I realized how tough it was, but and so, not a big a fan of math at the time, but I kind of wish I had stuck with it, but
Yeah.
what
Interesting.
can you do? Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3, the most famous person you've ever met.
Matt Damon.
Ooh.
So I met him, I think it was about 20 years ago too. When I was in New York City, I was visiting there with a friend of mine from Scotland, and we were just hanging around some random park somewhere and saw a bunch of people sort of getting excited about somebody walking down the stairs, and it was some paparazzi, and then we noticed it was Matt Damon just randomly shooting a film in New York, and we asked if he could take a picture, so he took some pictures with us, and um, happily have that on my wall. So,
Very cool. So it was a
yeah.
celebrity encounter that was positive. He wasn't a jerk, and
Oh, he was super nice. Yeah.
huh,
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
cool.
he asked my friend where she was from, and she couldn't remember because, she had the accent, but she's I don't know. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah. Great
Uh,
stories.
question number 4. What was the first concert you attended?
When I was really little, I went to see Judy Collins with my great aunt and uncle at Wolf
Oh,
Trap in Virginia. So that was
whoa.
an exciting experience. Had no idea who she was, but it was incredible. It was um, one of many concerts that they ended up taking me to at Wolf Trap. We spent every summer growing up in the DC area, so it was really it was really a magical
Very cool.
experience.
I
So
bet. And the Wolf
yeah.
Trap, I've heard a lot about it. I've never been there. It's a legendary venue,
hmm
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of outdoors. You have like a lawn area, and then you have seats underneath a roof, but very, very, um, yes, legendary.
Yeah. Very cool.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, those are fantastic answers. Okay. Your one question back to me.
Okay, your question. If you could spend the rest of your life in any fictional world, where would it be?
Oh, my goodness. Well, my first thought is Narnia.
Hmm.
That would be, I discovered, of course, C.S. Lewis wrote the Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia. And I didn't discover, like I mentioned earlier, I was a big science fiction fan when I was a kid. Still enjoy that genre. I know you've got some
Mhm.
interests in that as well, but
Right.
I really didn't really dive into the Chronicles of Narnia until I was an adult as a parent, and I read them all to my children,
Oh.
which was just an incredible experience. And so, yeah, I think living in Narnia and being a prince, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's now that I think about it, though, that I don't know. That's a really good question, but that's my initial answer.
Okay. Good choice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey,
All right.
I think that qualifies as the most unique question I've had so far, Vanessa. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's dive into this. Lincoln Airport Authority.
Mhm.
I've had people suggest to me that you might be one of the most qualified persons to serve on the Lincoln Airport Authority.
Oh.
And because and you mentioned it earlier, you worked in customer service for the German airline How do you pronounce it?
Lufthansa.
Lufthansa.
Yeah.
And so I assume that experience got you interested in the airline industry, and I assume
Mm-hmm.
that you've taken those experiences and applied them to your position now in the airport authority. So my question is,
Mm-hmm.
how has that experience and other your education and other background helped you advance the mission of the Lincoln Airport?
Yeah, I think so I worked at Lufthansa, and I think that really planted the seed for me for just being interested in airline travel in general. I'm also a big traveler, so just the combination of the two. But ever since then, I have been really interested in keeping up with airline trends. I considered being a travel agent for a while, but just understanding what are the what are the airlines doing? Where are they traveling to? What are the best routes to take? Who flies nonstop to where? What are some of the major airlines doing? So I've always tracked the trends. I'm a part of I monitor airlinegeeks.com. So I always know what's going on in the industry, sort of just as a personal hobby as well. But I think in addition to that, for the board itself, I work, my day job as a director for a healthcare company over audit operations. I'm doing a lot of the same types of activities. I'm laying out strategy for my team, managing budgets, making sure that we're looking at different revenue sources, um, you know, growing and making sure that we are succeeding with those strategies. And so, um, in addition to that, I'm very into analytics. I think that anymore, the air service industry is heavily driven by analytics, and so being a data geek myself, I really enjoy learning the trends and seeing what's happening with certain airlines and what our seat capacity is, looking at what are the revenue, what are the revenue, what's the word I'm looking for, sort of the revenue activity related to airlines, what's driving them for profitability. And so just all of that together, I have an MBA in business analytics, and so just the combination of all those factors together kind of, I feel, gives me an advantage being on the board. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it is kind of an interesting mix of people who have been elected to the board. And remind our listeners, remind me,
mhm.
how many other of your colleagues on the board?
There are four additional board members.
Okay.
So Chris Stokes, Chris Hove, and Nikki Beamer Pop, and John Olson.
Yeah.
So there's five of us on the board.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is a really good combination of skills and experience between the five of us. I think we each bring a unique perspective. And I think that you need that on a board to have sort of a diverse background of and industries. Nikki's in real estate, Chris Hove is in finance, and John with engineering, but also very involved in business and the public industry. I don't know if public industry is the right word. Business industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Chris Stokes obviously has the airline
Yeah.
background.
He's a
So
pilot, right?
he's a pilot,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. No, and I've done some work for the airport, so I've experienced the work that you guys do up close, and I think you're always very accessible, and I think there's been a lot of attention to the Lincoln Airport here in recent years,
right.
with good reason. I mean, we're a growing city. We need to
Yeah.
continue to provide air service, not only for leisure travel and vacation, but also business. I mean, here we are, the seat of state government and
Yes.
the University of Nebraska. I mean, those two entities alone have a lot of interest in keeping the Lincoln Airport viable and accessible to a lot of people. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's a big dang job.
It's a big deal. Yeah. And especially, looking at the convention center,
Yes.
expansion. So, I mean, it's important, not only just for, the sake of having the accessibility, the connectivity, but, the airport brings in a huge amount of economic revenue into the city through the airlines, but also the general aviation, the industrial park, military, all hugely important to the city of Lincoln.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe something that maybe gets overlooked, and maybe the public, for casual people that, use the airport to fly and visit family or go for business, they don't recognize all the other elements that make up the Lincoln Airport. And as you mentioned, I mean, it's a huge platform
Hmm.
of land, and
Yeah,
used to be one of the largest uh, air bases in the region years and
hmm,
years and years ago. And so all of that land is still yours, right?
right, right, exactly.
And so, yeah, the challenge and the opportunity of what you do with that land. And so, maybe talk a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing as an airport board to enhance some of the services, not the services, but the land that you have and utilizing it for profit.
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing, especially in regards to the industrial park, is we we're starting to engage with the real estate broker to help us look at our overall strategy for the industrial park. Are there some better leasing strategies? We're also looking at the fair market value of our rents out there and making sure that those are up to date, because it's been a while since some of the rents have been adjusted. So taking a look at, how can we best maximize the revenue sources for the industrial park, while also trying to support industry within Lincoln and business, and helping to, as far as the city to grow economically. So,
For most of us, we know the airport because we use the airport. It's the great, and the upgrades you've made and the improvements you've made. Uh, I've bragged about this for years and years and years. Um, it's the greatest experience you'll ever have at an airport in America. I guarantee it.
yes.
And it's even gotten better with the improvements you've made out there.
Hmm.
But obviously, one of the concerns we've lost some air services. We've lost
Hmm.
that flight to Houston. United decided that didn't fit their portfolio any longer, and I personally use it a lot because I have family in South
Yes.
Texas, and I know it was confusing because a lot of people that used that flight. It was a busy flight. It was
Yeah.
full most of the time. So anyway,
Hmm.
maybe talk a little bit about your approach to growing air service over the last year and a half that you've been on the board, and how you were targeting airlines for possible new service into Lincoln.
Yeah. So our approach, there's several different pieces of the strategy, and so one of the pieces is that we engaged a new air service consultant, CMT, who is very um, entrenched in the airline industry. They know they know what's going on. They know what airlines are doing. They know what's happening with supply chain, with pilot shortages. But they're also looking at the data, and I think that's one of the huge benefits we've had from having them come in, is to constantly analyze, what is happening in the industry, but also what's feasible for Lincoln. They conducted a feasibility study for us to see, where what kind of leakage do we have to other airports like Omaha or to Kansas City, and where are those passengers traveling to? Trying to assess, our what markets make the most sense for us, for those passengers who live in Lincoln, but are traveling outside. And so taking that information, taking the data from our existing flights, even though we only have the two markets now, we did have the Houston market. but demonstrating to airlines that here is where the data supports that we can sustain a particular route, or we can sustain a particular airline coming in. And so using that approach when we're doing pitches to airlines has been helpful. But also the work that Rachel Barth has done,
Yes.
as the Air Service Development Director, Marketing Director for the airport, as well as Dave Herring, meeting with airlines and making sure that they're building those relationships with the airlines. It takes time. You can meet with them at an industry conference for 20 minutes and show, here's all the information about the airport and here are the routes that we're thinking of. But they meet with, several different airlines within one day. So how do we stand out? And so that relationship building is extremely important, but also being able to show that Lincoln is a community that's welcoming to new airlines, that we want to see new airlines, and that we have the community support. For example, the sponsorship from the Husker Athletics we've received feedback that is hugely beneficial for airlines to see that, because they see that we have the community support. We have this additional venue for marketing as well, for if they were to come to Lincoln, that they have this huge audience, potential viewers that they wouldn't have at maybe another airport. So
Yeah.
all of that together has been our strategy.
Yeah. And maybe just back up a minute. I mentioned earlier that United pulled out of that Houston flight route. But United has continued to add other flights to both their Chicago and Denver routes, correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They just added an additional Denver route. And they've been in constant communication with us about potentially, adding more. If our load factors for those flights are in the, average in the 90s,
Wow.
which is great. And so showing United that, we have that capacity will help them to add additional routes, or, bring in the larger planes, which have the, the premium class as well as the economy, which I know a lot of business travelers are also really wanting to see. There are several routes, or several of the flights to Chicago have that already. So we'd like to see that for Denver as well.
And so just talking about additional air services and those opportunities. And by the way, I just want to brag about the staff that you have. Dave Herring, Rachel Barth, hang on to those folks. And I know you will, because I suspect the other people would like to poach them for their airports. And so you've just got a great team out there, and the work that they're doing. And I know Rachel, as you mentioned, is working hard along with your board to find additional air service into the city. So what would that mean economically? What does that mean economically to the city of bringing in additional flights?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at bringing in additional flights, you're not just looking at the direct revenue related to the airport fees. You're also talking about people coming in to Lincoln. They're going to restaurants. They're staying in hotels. They're conducting business, and so even just looking at the addition of the Denver flight, you can estimate about $3 million in economic impact per year just for that additional flight. And it could be potentially even more than that if you're looking at even new routes to other destinations. So it does impact the city more than people think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, elevator speech.
Elevator speech.
Vanessa, why should people mark their ballots on Tuesday to return you to the Lincoln Airport Authority?
Well, I've been doing the job for a year and a half now. I have over 20 years of experience in leadership, compliance, operations, strategic planning, and we've been making a lot of progress on our goals of adding additional air service, maximizing the industrial park, and making sure that our overall airport infrastructure is supported. So I just ask that people go to the polls on May 6th and vote for me.
Very good. And how can our viewers and listeners learn more about you?
You can go to VanessaLNK.com. So VANESSALNK.com.
Very good. Vanessa, thanks for spending some time with us here today. I wish you the best next week in the election.
Sure appreciate it. Thanks, Dan.
Hey, thanks so much, Vanessa, for joining me on the pod today. Best of luck in your bid for re-election to the Lincoln Airport Authority. A reminder, if you'd like to learn more, check out the voter guides by our friends at Civic Nebraska and Flatwater Free Press. Thanks to our producer, Chase Porter, Penology Tech Solutions for their technical help and equipment, and Kim Remington, Parsons PR Director of Operations. And most importantly, thanks to each of you for tuning in. It really does mean a lot to us. Okay, that's the show. Thanks for tuning in. Now go do good things. I'm Dan Parsons.